What's up, you sweaty nerds and greasy degenerates? So Robin currently has a rerun active in Honkai Star Rail, and although I usually tell people that reruns are not usually worth your pull, Robin is one of those rare exceptions, and even if you don't have the character, her E1 is one of the best in the game, especially considering she's currently the best character in the game right now. Yeah, sure, we just went onto Emphorius, 3.0 started, she might get Powercrept into the number 2 slot at some point, but that doesn't mean that she necessarily loses value as a result of that. So let's go ahead and talk about this situation, because I've been getting asked by a lot of people whether they should pull Robin in videos that I make, so let's talk about this. First, if you like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe. We cover Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero mostly, but we cover everything gacha as long as it's interesting and good. So let's move on. Alright, so firstly I need to say that Robin's banner only just recently started, right? There's still 18 days, 17 hours as of the recording of this video. By the time you see this, maybe it's 17 days. The point is, there's a lot of time left with her banner. This is not a decision you have to make right now. If you're waiting to see what happens with other characters coming down the line, whether it's character reveals, or maybe you're into like, yeah, no, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, certain spoilers of characters, kits, etc., and you want to take a look at that before you make a decision on Robin, go ahead and do that. Pulling on the last day of the banner versus the first day of the banner only affects how quickly you get to use the character, right? And so if you've already cleared MOC, Pure Fiction, you know, Apocalyptic Shadow, all that stuff, you don't need her right now, right? You can wait on making that decision. So don't feel rushed to have to feel pressured or anything like that into pulling this character. And as far as her light cone is concerned, you simply do not need this, right? You don't. Now, considering she is the best character in the game, some of you might be considering doing that, but you simply don't need it, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at a great option you could use instead. This, for example, is what I use. Mine's at S5. You can probably get this to S5 eventually. Even at S1, it's not a bad option, right? This is for tomorrow's journey, right? At S5, it increases the wearer's attack by 32%. That's mainly what you need. After the wearer uses their ultimate, increases their damage dealt by 30%, lasting for 1 turn. That's great and fine and dandy and all. The light cone itself is very, very good for Robin. This is all you need on her. You don't need anything else. Now, this isn't a build guide, but I'll go ahead and mention a couple of other options in case you guys were curious or you're worried about light cone availability, etc., etc. You do have the 5-star Bronya light cone. This is easier to get than her signature, for example. Some of you will accidentally get this by pulling on the banners, right? But you might also be able to pick this up from the Starlight shop in case you guys wanted to save up enough Starlight for that. It's called But the Battle Isn't Over. Increases the wearer's energy regeneration rate by 10% and regenerates 1 skill point when the wearer uses their ultimate on an ally. This effect can be triggered once every 2 uses of the wearer's ultimate. When the wearer uses their skill, the next ally taking action except for the wearer deals 30% more damage for 1 turn. It's a solid light cone. Go ahead and use that if you felt so inclined. You could also use Meshing Cogs. This is just a super goated 3-star light cone that everybody should have several S5 copies of this, unless maybe you're newer to the game or whatever. Don't trash this light cone. Make like 2 or 3 of these at S5 and then get rid of all of the rest. That's fine, but get a couple of these at S5 because the energy regeneration rate off this thing is really, really solid, and a character like Robin can actually use it. It's not the first choice you should go for. You should go for the other 2 I've already mentioned, but this is a decent option in case you wanted to go that route. And to save any of you time, in case you were curious about Robin's E1, we have it right here. Land of Smiles. While the Concerto state is active, all allies, all type res penetration increases by 24%. That is correct. The entire duration of the Concerto state is when this is active. It's not locked behind turns or anything like that. It is time gated behind the Concerto state, but all you got to do to get it back up is go right back into the Concerto state. And many of you, I'm sure, would know, sometimes you're playing Robin and she gets out of the Concerto state and then she gets to go right back in it again because she has enough energy to do so. That means that this could technically be permanently active during combat once you activate it for the first time, depending on your scenario. This is an incredibly powerful effect, and the duration of the effect is also very powerful on her specifically. Super duper amazing E1 if you're like an Eidolon A&D, or if you're somebody that likes pulling on Eidolons, you're a whale or whatever. If you have the Jade Despair, and you really want to invest into Robin, this is the best way you could do that. Don't go for some crazy light cone. Go for her E1. That's the best improvement you can make beyond an E0 S0 character for Robin. Now, you may have heard me mention earlier that Robin is currently the best character in the entire game, and that is an irrefutable fact, okay? You can try to argue against it, but your arguments are null and void, okay? She is currently the best in the entire game, right? And you might be saying, hey, we're on Emphorius now, she's gonna get power crept, yada, 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 yada. Okay, check this out for a second here. I want to make an example of how some support characters are just not gonna have power creep for a long time, okay? Look at Ron May, okay? Let's take a look at this. Let's analyze this for a second here. Ron May came out in patch 1.6, okay? And she is still considered a top tier character who can work on literally any team in the entire game, right? Because she has universal buffs and they're team-wide. Guess who else has universal buffs that are team-wide? Robin. But she also has an action advance for the whole team, right? She doesn't action advance herself because she goes into concerto state, but that doesn't matter, right? She's incredibly strong. That action advance is so useful on so many different teams. There's so many teams that when she came out, we didn't necessarily know whether she'd be good on or not, and we found out that as time goes on, that action advance alone creates some very interesting scenarios in the meta, and she is very powerful on so many teams you wouldn't necessarily expect her to beat. She's incredible on DOT teams even. She's the best follow-up support in the game. She's incredible on even an E2 Acheron team instead of using someone like Sparkle, for example, who was one of the first picks we would think of when using Acheron on her day one, but Robin wasn't out at that time. She eventually came out and became a very strong character to use with an E2 Acheron, and she's basically good on pretty much any team that's out there, right? She's incredible on just about any team. And when you look at Ron May, she released in patch 1.6, and she's still a top tier character to this day, even after the introduction of a character like Robin into the game. So some of these characters just have longevity. Are they immune to power creep? No. There's nobody out there saying that characters are immune to power creep. This is a fucking lie. People are spreading false narratives and putting words in people's mouths. Content creators like myself will say that a character like this has longevity. They're not immune. They'll eventually, yes, get power crept someday. But that day is not going to be today, and that day is not even going to be tomorrow, okay? It's going to be a long time before she gets power crept because she's currently the best in the game. Yeah, you're going to see some other supports like Tribby come along, and Tribby is going to be very strong. But is that going to automatically make a character like Robin irrelevant? No, it won't. Will it immediately make Ron May irrelevant? No. It's going to take some time before that happens, especially these top characters right here. Just look at Ting Yun, who used to be the best character in the game on launch, right? She's still a tier 1 character, and it's been like almost 2 years. Look at Payla, all right? Sparkle kind of fell off a little bit just because some of the other characters are better for certain situations, and Sparkle is a bit more niche in comparison to characters like Robin and Ron May, who are more universally good. A character that's universally good is just going to have longevity. It's a fact. So it's a good pull to make, even on a rerun, because she's still relevant. She's still the best in the game, despite it coming all the way to her rerun, right? Think about that for a second. Think about the pull power of your account. She is an immediate improvement to anyone's account, and if you're looking for an Eidolon for a character, this is the right character to make an Eidolon choice for, because she's universally good. Alright, so we glazed her up a little bit, we lathered her up a little bit, okay, we talked her up. Let's talk about, some of the reasons why she's so good, right? This is her talent. It increases all allies' crit damage by 20%. That is static. That is always there. There is no condition for that. It is there 100% of the time. Moreover, after allies attack enemy targets, Robin additionally regenerates 2 energy for herself. This is mainly just help to be able to get her ultimate back up so that you can keep her in her concerto state, which is the main bread and butter of her kit, right? You also have a bonus effect here. When the battle begins, action advances this character by 25%. you want her to be the first character that acts on your team. So if your team's really, really fast and this action advance of 25% at the start of battle is not good enough, you can always use relics such as Sprightly, for example, so that they start first no matter what. Sprightly also gives you energy regeneration rate, so it's currently, for example, what I'm using on my Robin to make sure not only am I getting enough energy to keep myself, an attempted permanent concerto state to keep her buffs up permanently, right? But it's also an attempt to make her the first character that acts in battle every single time, no matter what. All right, so we'll talk about her skill briefly because we'll just get it out of the way. It's really quick. It increases the damage dealt by all allies by 50%, lasting for 3 turns. This duration decreases by 1 at the start of Robin's every turn. So obviously you're going to want to keep this perma active as well. If it takes you, if she comes out of her concerto state and you have to reactivate this again for whatever reason, it's usually not that hard. Just pay attention to making sure that she has this buff active all of the time, and you keep at least 1 skill point available for her to be able to use it. Also, when using her skill, she additionally regenerates 5 energy. Again, just another way to keep her in her ultimate buffed state, which is this right here. This is her concerto state. Robin enters the concerto state after using her ultimate and makes all teammates, i.e. excluding this unit, immediately take action. So she acts and advances the entire team. All of your team get to just have, some extra turns. This is a very, very, very powerful buff and what makes her the best character in the entire game. Despite, even if these buffs sucked ass, she would still be the best character in the game, probably just because of this action advance for the whole team. While in the concerto state, it increases all allies' attack by 22.8% of Robin's attack plus 200. This is this is her traces at level 10, by the way, so if you don't take her to level 10, you won't get all of this, which is one reason why you do want to take her to 10, because she is one of those characters that deserves to be like all up to 10. Like my traces, for example, on my character, everything's at 10, except for like this healing effect right here. I don't care about the HP, I don't care about this HP, I don't care about using her skill. She's not there to deal damage, and she doesn't need survivability because the teams that she's on are so good that she does not die. So let's go ahead and look at her ultimate again here. Moreover, after every attack by after every attack by ally targets, Robin deals physical additional damage equal to 120% of her attack for 1 time, with a fixed crit rate for this damage set at 100% and fixed crit damage set at 150%. So this is just basically like going to guarantee that despite how trash your build might be, this is still going to give you a pretty decent effect. This is not the bread and butter of her kit though, this is just some extra bells and whistles. While in the concerto state, Robin is immune to crowd control debuffs and cannot enter her turn or take action until the concerto state ends. This is a way to keep her safe. This is a way to make sure that her buff doesn't go away. She basically gets to cheat by doing this. She's absolutely insanely cracked. A concerto countdown appears on the action order bar. When the countdown's turn begins, Robin exits the concerto state and immediately takes action. So she gets to act right after she leaves the concerto state. So if you just so happen to have energy again to go right back into the concerto state, just make sure that her skill is active. If you have to, activate her skill and then go right back in the concerto state again. This is how you play Robin optimally, right? Keep her in her concerto state permanently, keep her skill active permanently, and you don't have to think about it. That's all you have to worry about once you built her right? Now, in case this wasn't blatantly obvious, you're not always going to be able to keep Robin in her concerto state. There will be moments where she falls out of it in combat because enemies don't hit her enough to gain enough energy to get her right back into it after she falls out. But there will be plenty of times, like I've already said in the video, where you fall out of it, enemies have hit your Robin while she was in it, and then she can get right back into her concerto state without even necessarily having to reuse her skill if you have enough energy, okay? Just a disclaimer, but you want to try to do the best that you can to give you an opportunity to the best of your abilities, keeping her in that buff state as much as possible. The countdown has its own fixed speed of 90, right? So you can't really affect that itself. It is at a fixed speed, but if you've played her enough, you'll understand this is not a problem in any way. And she has another effect here. While the concerto state is active, the crit damage dealt when all allies launch follow-up attack increases by 25%. So this is only going to matter for characters with a follow-up attack, so just keep that in mind. But this is, again, why she's the insert here best follow-up attack character in the game, as well as the best character in the game, period. And I guess we'll go ahead and mention the technique as well. After using her technique, she creates a special dimension around the character that lasts for 15 seconds. Enemies within this dimension will not attack Robin and will follow Robin while the dimension is active. Basically, she gets to create an army of simps if you use this, and all enemies will follow her around like an army of simps. After entering battle while the dimension is active, Robin regenerates 5 energy at the start of each wave. So this is an important effect you definitely want to activate, because if you forget to activate this for whatever reason, you won't be getting that energy, and you want to keep her in her concerto state. Only one dimension effect created by allies can exist at the same time, but her dimension is very, very strong. You're gonna probably want to use hers over just about any other character. There might be exceptions to that depending on the team, but she definitely wants to have this active if you can do it. Now, something I need to say about Robin that makes no damn sense at all, but it's kind of funny, and I need to say it, okay? There is no reason why Robin should be this good in the game lore-wise. Most of the time, you can tell a character is going to be good when you look at their lore, okay? Acheron, all right? This is a Raiden Mei XP. Her name is literally Raiden Mei, okay? In her lore, for one of her promos, she literally cut a black hole in half in order to try to save her civilization. That's when she became an Emanator. Her Emanator story is insane, right? No, of course she was going to be good. Jing Liu, she's not the best in the game anymore for DPS, but when she launched, there's no reason for us to have believed she wasn't going to be the best in terms of her lore. But when you look at a character like Robin, what did she do? She sings songs sometimes, if her throat's feeling good that day. There is no reason for this character to be the best character in the entire game. There's no reason for her to even really be that good, other than, I guess, she's a diva or whatever, go girl, boss girl, whatever, right? But there's no reason for her to be better than some of these other characters, yet she still is. And you want to know what? I don't care. I think it's funny, right? I think that most of the time you should see a character like Acheron and be like, okay, she's going to be the best DPS. When she launches, she'll be the best. That just makes sense, right? But every once in a while, it's kind of nice to see a character that for no reason, it doesn't make sense, is just the best for their particular slot, like Aventurine. He's just a gambler. He gambled his way to the top. There's no real reason why he should be the best sustain in the game right now, right? But he is, right? And Robin, there's no real reason why she should be the best character in the game or best support in the game, but she is. Because, again, she sings songs sometimes, but her simps eat that up. And she's the best in the game currently right now. Now, this wasn't one of my usual should you pull videos. This is just sort of a, if you want to pull this character or you want to pull her Eidolon, it's not a bad choice kind of videos. I'm reaffirming your potential idea of pulling the character if you were considering it, right? She is not a bad choice at all. She's a great choice, in fact. So should you pull her? It's up to you, pal, all right? It's a good decision, okay? If you have a couple of extra pulls lying around and you wanted to dump them on her banner, it's a pretty good idea, all right? Anyways, if you guys like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Maybe leave a comment down below if you're going to pull her, if you like her or if you don't, or maybe you want to see some other content or some other banner you might want to see some information on. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.